Hello there. Uh, Welcome to our third weekly podcast. Hope y'all are having a great time. I'm your host, TrX SoLuTiOnZ, and I also have one other good friend with me here.
Hi everyone, Darth Malid. Once again, I am the team manager of our Call of Duty team, and team manager for us here at SRM Gaming. And we'd like to welcome you to our third podcast.
Third.
Of Is our third, correct?
Yeah.
Yeah, our third podcast. Start to lose count after a while when you do these week after week.
So,
how's everyone doing?
Yeah, hopefully everybody is doing great on this wonderful Saturday evening, or morning for some of you, or late as hell at night for others.
Yeah, depends on what coast you are or what part of the world.
Yeah. Darth's mic is a little raspy. Well, I can't fix that. I could fix if it's loud or quiet.
Can you hear me a little better?
That's somewhat worse. So, we have something interesting that we thought of to do, well, that Malid thought of to do this podcast. We both have made a list of our top 10 games, and we're gonna discuss those with each other, and y'all can join in. Say what your favorite games are, all that kind of stuff. My top 10 list turned into like top 30 list, so I'll try to stick to the first 10. So, Malid, would you like to go first? What are your top 10 favorite games?
Well, it's kind of hard to get to top 10, just because, I've been gaming for so long, play so many different kinds of games. It's kind of hard to pick, like, your favorite racing game or favorite RPG. So I kind of just went with, like, I would say the 10 most, like, fun or favorite games that I consistently played when I was growing up, or even when I was playing now. And let's see. I think this to start off my list, it's probably going to be a game pretty known by most. It's probably one of the most famous RPG franchises ever in Final Fantasy VII. I wouldn't kind of, like I said, it's kind of hard to place like a top 10 or number one, but this would be kind of in that top 10 category of my top favorite all time, because it's one of my top RPGs ever.
I love Final Fantasy VII.
You've actually played that one?
I've played Final Fantasy 1, 2, 3, 7, 10, 10, 2, all 13s, and 15.
Yeah, I played the entire franchise from the original on Nintendo. That's one of my greatest franchises of all time. It's Final Fantasy.
Yeah. I have the first 5 on my phone because they're on mobile
Nice.
now. So I play them every
Yeah,
now and again.
that's sick. That's fun. That's fun.
Yeah.
Some games are just hard for me to play on mobile because the nostalgia of pressing a button when you're playing isn't the same.
Yeah, I agree. I definitely would rather using, a controller for it because sometimes the buttons don't really work too well, but I mean, it works. It's still a fun game.
Oh yeah, I love it. It's awesome. Just the stories and how each one's different from one game to another.
Yeah.
They really don't. They kind of really didn't start combining storylines until after 10.
Right.
You had 10 and then 10 2, or people say it's 12, and like it's not 12, it's part 2, 10, I guess.
I don't know. Sometimes the numbering gets pretty confusing.
Yeah. But I mean, all in all, it's been a very productive franchise. A very, as it says, fantasy franchise. You know, every story's different. Every story's on a different planet, different realm. Characters don't intertwine from Final Fantasy to Final Fantasy. So that's what makes it, I guess, to me, one of the greatest franchises ever, being that it's not a repetitive story. They're not interconnected, but each one it's its own game in its own right.
Yeah. Yeah, I can already tell that our lists are going to be quite different. My,
But I mean that's good because it's two different, generations of gaming basically. So
yeah,
I expect there to be a lot of differences in
yeah,
our top favorites, I would say.
yeah. Well, my first is, everybody at SRMG or on the SRMG Discord should know. My top favorite game of all time is Spider-Man. Uh, just because, I mean, it makes you feel like a little kid again when you play it, just like being amazed at what Spider-Man can do. It's him in just a new light. It's, oh my god, it's hard to describe the feeling of just swinging around the city with actual momentum and not just like cosmetic flying like a large majority of Spider-Man games.
Yeah.
And
So, yeah, and I really can't wait to get into that game because that's growing up. I've had a lot of different kinds of games, and X-Men, and then we had the old Insidious Spider-Man, Insidious Six game. We had an old Carnage game, which is really good for Super Nintendo. Actually, it was
yeah,
like really cool. It was a red color cartridge and everything. But with this Spider-Man, it's literally a game unlike any other.
it
Um,
really is. I mean, they took,
like,
sorry, what?
no, no, go ahead.
They took some like controls and stuff from previous games. Like we all know the Arkham series fighting styles and stuff, how you counter with circle and you just attack. But it kind of puts a new spin on it because it's not really focused on you have to counter at the right time to do this and blah blah blah. But you have just
Yeah,
the addition of air combat, which I just realized how important it is to actually be good at the game, which was pretty unfortunate. Uh, and you just have so many different gadgets that are just fun to use. Like there's one where you web somebody and they just go flying across the street and web to a wall or web to the ground. They have trip mines you could stick people together with. It's a great feeling.
yeah. I remember when I was watching the announcement for it when they first were talking about this game, and to me it was like, holy crap! It's Grand Theft Auto meets Spider-Man.
It pretty much is.
Like you can run around, open game. You don't have to do certain missions at a certain time. You don't, there's like there kind of is, but isn't a linear storyline
Right.
because you don't have to continue the story in order to do anything else in the game. What
Yeah.
I also like is how it's combined with literally like everything within the Marvel universe is set there. Like you would watch the cartoon to Spider-Man when I was growing up, and unless they actually wrote the Avengers into the game, into the show, you're not gonna know anything about the Avengers in New York City. But there's an Avengers Tower in this game,
Yeah.
and when you follow Marvel comics, most of them are based in New York. Daredevil's in Hell Kitchen, Punisher's in Hell's Kitchen, Luke Cage is in Harlem. You have the entire Xavier School of the Gifted is upstate New York. You know,
I actually didn't know that was in
Spider
New
Man.
York.
Yeah, it's in upstate New York, and then you have Spider Man who lives in Queens. So every borough has its own superhero.
Yeah.
Basically. And so in New York City, it's huge. So just to have that, that incorporation of being able to chill on the Avengers Tower and hang out and just like view New York City from their point of view. It's awesome. And then having other aspects of the Spider-Man world intertwining. Like well, this will probably be a spoiler alert for nobody who's yet to play the game, but running into people like Miles Morales, which is the new Spider-Man, when you start delving into the new Marvel universe. It's no longer Peter Parker. So
Yeah.
it's kind of like you're playing Spider-Man, you're Peter Parker, and yet you find Miles Morales' parents, and you do a mission where they actually mention his name. So it's kind of weird how Marvel is intertwining everything from, its video games to its movies to even its Netflix TV shows are now all intertwined into one big universe where when I was growing up, that's something that wouldn't be possible.
Yeah. I don't wanna stay on this topic for too long, but I do want to say this. With the success that Spider-Man brought, they have talked about that this is the first in a very, very long line of MCU video games.
Yes, I've heard that as well.
And not only that, but Square Enix has finally started officially working on the Avengers project, which was announced like 1.5, 2. Well, it wasn't even announced. There was like a 20-second teaser for it, and it was just like a scroll camera of like Iron Man's gauntlet, Thor's hammer, and I think one other thing. And then in big letters, it just said the Avengers Project. And so they finally started working on that, and I'm very excited because nobody knows what it's gonna be, or what even kind of game it's gonna be.
I'm just excited that it's Square Enix with everything that they've done.
Yeah,
The line of games that they have and their ability to use multiple characters in a storyline.
yeah,
When you look at look at Kingdom Hearts, they're working on a sixth video game, but it's only number 3 in line. Like they have a part one remix, 2, and then the 2 remix, and now 3.
hmm
So I mean, their ability to take multiple characters in a franchise and just be able to stretch it out, whether it's just one game, 2 games, or just making a one solid game, just that's a good company to have. With their solid line of RPGs and their solid, just what they can do is going to be amazing. I'm speechless in a way. I didn't know that. Like I just found that out.
yeah. Most are assuming that it's gonna be a new Marvel Ultimate Alliance kind of, which I hope it is because that was a great, great 2 games.
See, I kind of don't hope it's that way. I'm hoping more like
Well, obviously, I hope it's more like Spider-Man, but I wouldn't be mad if it was an Ultimate Alliance type-ish game.
I would like it to be more of a online kind of co-op game. Like you can play it by yourself, but there's also like a co-op version or a multiplayer storyline mode that you have to play with other people.
Right.
Because it'll be. I mean, depending on the stories, I mean, it can or cannot get boring. Just being one person, linear. Just doing the same old random video game stuff. Just we're gonna start a game and it goes from A to B, from B to C, C to D, and so on and so forth. You know, but
Right.
if they did more of an open game where you had that ability to do a solo storyline per character, and then have an online multiplayer mode where you have to do missions with other people. You run into other people within just not the MCU. universe on Earth, but in space. You know, being that the Avengers are tasked with multiple different types of things when it comes to defending just the Earth itself. You know, so it would be good to see that incorporated. The fact that they do more than just defend the Earth itself from their own threats, but from outer threats, and how that would be incorporated. Would it be just, you know, just based on planet Earth, or will they actually travel to other spaces? Being that Thor is, you know, guardian of 7 different realms, and you know, you had Vision, who was one of the, you know, Infinity Stones. So how would they work that? You know, and with Doctor Strange being that he's in a whole different kind of timeline, or basically a whole different kind of space, not even on Earth or reality. You know what I'm saying? So like incorporating those things into the game is what I would, what would make it really good, like a solid, this will last for a kind of long time video game. You know?
Yeah.
Because that's a lot of DLC that you can download onto a game, or a lot of DLC that you can create for one game that can last you, you know, up to 5 years with just different DLC content that you can provide throughout those years.
Right. And real quick, I want to mention that the studio that was hired to create the game are the developers of the Tomb Raider series and the Deus Ex series.
The original Tomb Raider?
No. Well, it doesn't say here. I'm assuming it's the newer Tomb Raider. It's Crystal Dynamics.
Yeah. Because the Tomb Raider's gone through so many, like from Eidos to Core, and now CD has it, and they've been doing really good for it for a really long time.
Yeah.
They just came out with a new game for Tomb Raider as well.
Yeah, I want to play it, but I need to play the first 2 first.
And to be like, that's kind of funny. We talk about Tomb Raider. It's one of like the most lucrative franchises PlayStation has had since the beginning. It's not in my top 10.
It's not in mine either. All right, what is your next game in your top 10?
This is my favorite racing game of all time, and some people are gonna laugh at me. Mario Kart 64.
I don't know why people would laugh at you for that. That's a solid game.
That game is dope. It beat out Gran Turismo, Ridge Racer, Speed. I played the very first one when it came out on Super Nintendo, which is just, you know, regular Mario Kart, and it was good. But then when they came out with like the 64 version, they added different maps, different races, and they just expanded onto it. It made it so much better with the expanded characters, the expanded, you know, different races that they provided. And there's been other Mario Karts that have come out after that, but I think 64 is the greatest one of the entire franchise.
Yeah, I don't think... No, I've definitely played Mario Kart 64 before, but not in a extremely long time. I haven't really played Mario Kart recently at all.
I played the newest one.
I've played that one too.
It's awesome.
Yeah.
It's like Mario Party to me. Like, once you get hooked on Mario Party, it's like, how can you not play the newest one?
Yeah.
You know? So I've played all the Mario Parties.
Good evening, Mr. Navy Brat.
Oh, hey, you made it, bro.
Yeah. Can't be on it, but he can watch it.
That's cool with me.
My second favorite game. Well, I'm not gonna say that. Spider-Man was absolutely number 1, but from now on, there's no determined list of order. It's just, you know, I can't choose between these games and how good they are. But the second on my list is Assassin's Creed Odyssey, because I'm just a fan of Assassin's Creed, and Odyssey built upon something that was great and just made it better with a much, much better story that I don't have the ability to spoil because I'm not that far in it, even though I've put at least 30 hours into it. It's just, I don't know. They're moving Assassin's Creed in a more RPG-ish direction, and I think it is a very, very good choice for the franchise.
Well, my girlfriend would agree with you. She loves that game. She's a huge, huge Assassin's Creed fan.
I like your girlfriend.
She's played most of them. She hasn't played the new one yet because she hasn't played the previous one to that. She's kind of got stuck on a lot of other games and
Right.
lost focus on her Assassin's Creed. But I told her I'll help her out with that. It's okay. She plays a lot of Overwatch too, so
That's kind of what happened to me with the Assassin's Creed Origins. I was playing it and I loved it, but then other games came out and I was like, well, now I have to play these, and I got distracted and I didn't finish Origins until the day before Odyssey came out.
see, and that's what's happening to me right now. You know, like right now, Spider-Man, Red Dead Redemption, Resident Evil is coming out. There's like just so many games coming out right now at the end of this year. And with the new Call of Duty season started, I'm just so focused on COD. It's like
Yeah.
insane. It's insane.
So focused on COD, but won't play with me ever.
Hey, we're on at different times. You know? we gotta work out some kind of schedule, like so that we can play. Like tonight, like after the podcast, I'm not doing anything. You can go ahead and play, you know. But tonight, I'll be watching people play. I'll probably be on tonight for real myself and just get on some pubs or see what's going to be going on, who's going to be on tonight. Because I know the team was on today and they were doing the tournament.
Yeah, I haven't really been playing much Call of Duty at all lately because, again, Spider-Man. 2 new trophies came out along with the DLC. So, right now I have 3 save files. One of them is my completely 100%ed on the 3rd hardest difficulty, because that was the hardest difficulty when it came out. But they came out with 2 new trophies, one being finish it on the new hardest difficulty, and finish a New Game Plus mode. So, I have 2 save files on the hardest difficulty. Both I am trying to 100%.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's what's up. See, I seen when you posted the picture of that, and I was like, you know what? I don't even want to talk to this guy. I haven't even played the game. He's like got 100%, all medals and trophies complete. Like,
And now I'm only missing 2, and I will not rest until I'm done with those 2.
see, but that's the good thing about the Spider-Man game. You can keep playing even though you finish.
Yeah, like now.
You know what I mean?
Now in New Game Plus, it's a whole different game because I have all the upgrades unlocked, all the suits unlocked, all the mods unlocked. And so now when I go into a fight, it's no longer just me beating them up, hoping I don't die. It's I beat this guy up, shoot him into the air, someone else tries to shoot at me, so I web him to the wall. And there's just so many things you can do with the multitude of gadgets. And it's just, you can play the game completely differently every single time.
Yeah. No, I definitely understand that. That's why I can't wait to have it, honestly, because I know it's going to be a game that I'm going to consistently play for a pretty long time.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm not focused on other things, but it's going to be so many games like that. You know, it's the ending of the year. It's the time where, you know, new seasons for competitive play starts, and at the same time, it's that shopping time of the year. You know, it's
Right.
Black Friday is not too far away. It's crazy to say that, but it's, you know, it's about a month. You know,
Yeah.
it's right around the corner. So
Sadly, one of what I think is going to be the greatest games for a while does not come out until February, and that is Anthem. I'm so
See, I'm,
excited for
I'm
Anthem.
that's what I hate about knowing video games too early. I've been knowing about Anthem for like over a year,
Yeah,
going 3 months already. So it's like the excitement of that game is just kind of wearing a little thin on me now. It's like I just want it to be here.
yeah,
I just want to play it. It's a whole different kind of game, a whole different style of game. It's to me, it kind of takes like that Halo world and just it's like okay, instead of an exosuit, we're gonna throw you in an exo, but it's a whole different kind of exosuit now. Like you can do so much, the weaponry, the world itself of what they said it's gonna be, where monsters actually evolve in the game.
yeah.
I want to see that. Like, am I gonna go from fighting some small little animal to like some big giant monster, and then like the time is supposed to be lapsed in real time? So like when an hour passes in the game, an hour passes in real life.
Oh, that's. See, I don't really like that because it opens up the potential for there to be like timed events. Not like you only have a few hours to complete this, but like at 3 in the morning, this thing pops up that has super good loot. And so you're gonna have to like stay up till 3 in the morning to do it.
Hey, I'm gonna be real. That's how they keep you though.
That, yeah,
That's how they keep you. Like it's that Friday, and oh, so at 4:30 a.m. all around the world, we're just gonna drop this little nugget of goodness, and most people won't even realize it, until somebody puts it on Twitter or talks about it on Facebook, or I'm the first one to drop a YouTube video about it. Kind of that thing.
right.
Yeah, is it good? Is it bad? Honestly, we can't really say because it just depends on how much fanfare the game is going to get. And I think this is just the anticipation has been built up for it, that there's so many people who are literally gnawing at their teeth right now, just waiting to play this game.
Yeah, and it branches out to hit a large majority of gamers because it's got kind of the Mass Effect vibe in there. It's got kind of like a Monster Hunter world from what I've seen of it. Because I know you do fight like giant creatures.
Yeah, and I mean, you're this little thing fighting this. I mean, not little thing, but you're in like this exosuit, and you're fighting these monsters that range from little creatures to big giant. I don't even know what they're gonna be. They ain't even given like. There's no explanation to what the creatures you fighting are.
Right.
So it's kind of just like I don't know, an organism that was on the planet that started to mutate and continues to mutate while you're on the planet. You're
Yeah.
discovering different parts of this planet. It's kind of like how in Fallout you have a one shelter for the whole entire community. That's how Anthem is. Anthem is a safe zone for everyone.
Right.
And you got to be within that safe zone, and people go out, and you're part of a group. It's fantastic that it's not a solo player game. That it is a multiplayer co-op game, and you can do like people can join your game in the middle of your play while you're in the middle of a mission and just join you.
Yeah.
Because the game's based to be multiplayer, not to be a solo game.
I'm so excited for it.
That's one of the greatest things I like is that it's an open world multiplayer game.
Yeah. And the fact that they're saying that they have over 10 years of content to deliver to it, that is a ridiculous like thing to say, but I think they'll actually pull it off just based on because Destiny kind of has that, except they have like a year of content, 2 years, but 10 years is a long time to be playing a single game.
I'm thinking that video games are gonna kind of quietly go in that direction,
I agree.
where you get to play one game for multiple lengths of time. And that's weird because that'll be a new concept to the now generation of video gamers. You know, the people who are 12 to, I would say, to 18, 19 years old. Right now, that would be new. Of, oh wow, one game playing for a really long time, that just doesn't make sense. Um, to me, that makes perfect sense because when I was a kid, we didn't get 1,500 video games a year. You know, there wasn't a Call of Duty and then a Call of Duty Ghosts or a Call of Duty Modern Warfare or Black Ops. You know how like there was just so many that came out. It was insane. You know, when we started, we had Mario Brothers, and then you had that one game for like 5 years before Super Mario Brothers 2 came out. You know, it's like every year you got a different Tomb Raider. Every year there's another Resident Evil. Every year there's another, you know, there was another Midnight Club or another Ridge Racer.
Right.
So to the concept to me of playing one game for the next 4 years is like, oh, that's kind of when I was a kid. You know, but the only difference now is that it's not the same game that I'm playing for 5 years. They're adding content within that time frame. So the game is always going to be expanding. There's always going to be something new. That concept of playing video games to me is better than just let's create a game for a year, throw you some content for a year, and then create another one. Because you're always losing what the potential of what can be done on that one game. You're not really expanding on the best capabilities of every game that has been created.
Right.
Imagine playing an Uncharted game or a Tomb Raider with two people. Like, or Resident Evil. Like, you got Resident Evil 5 where you have some parts that are co-op play. Resident Evil 6 where some parts, but actually playing a full entire Resident Evil game from beginning to end, kind of like The Last of Us, but just the whole game, Resident Evil, just co-op from beginning to end. Things like that, you know, just the expanding on what can be done with certain games, because you rush to make another game next year. You don't give yourself that opportunity as a game developer to open up and be able to go to do different things. That's what I like about Square Enix so much, is that they have that ability to expand on any kind of game that they want.
Yeah, like my favorite Square Enix game, aside from Final Fantasies, has been Just Cause. Cause that game started out, and it was already like a huge game for the time that it was released. And now, with Just Cause 4, it has one of the biggest maps in any game. And it's got ridiculous stuff. I mean, the new game has a tornado gun. It's just...
I can't even... What the heck is a tornado gun?
It shoots tornadoes. It's a tornado gun.
That's wild. That's wild. You don't need bullets, you got a tornado.
Yeah, it's...
I'm not gonna kill you, I'm just gonna destroy the whole town. Wow. Just gone. Now, are they like mini tornadoes or like huge tornadoes?
I mean, from what I've seen... Now, I say this, it may not be in the actual game, but what I've seen is that it's a huge tornado. Like, I don't know how to rate tornadoes, but it's a bad one.
That's crazy. That's crazy.
Yeah. All right, we should probably get on with our lists. We're only on number 3.
3.
Oh god.
Yeah, I can do this all day. I can talk video games all day. I can talk sports all day, racing. Like, this is just normal, you know.
Yeah.
But my list is compiled. It has like different types of games. It's not just like they're all from one genre or anything like that.
Yeah, that's how mine is too.
I try to get like the best game of each genre that I played that I thought was my favorite, you know, and compile that within my top 10. So there's a there's a video game. It's pretty old. Um, to me, this is like the greatest, well, second greatest Link or Zelda game that you can ever play. And it was called A Link in the Past. It came out for Super Nintendo, and it was one of this. To me, it's the second best. Ocarina of Time would always be number one to me when it comes to Zelda games. Um, but this was my set. I put this one on the list because this was the first Link game that you played that took place in two different worlds at the same time. So you had to travel from one world to another to be able to complete the game, save the princess, fight, Gordon and get, the Triforce and everything like you do in like every game. It's kind of like repetitive, like Mario's like always fighting Bowser.
Right.
Link's always going up against Gordon. You know what I mean? But the evolution of the series, when you got to this point, everything else was just, all right, you were in this world, this is what you did, you saved her, and that's it, it's done. In this one, you save her and it's not done. You go into a whole nother world and you got to play a whole nother 7 different, castles and get this another whole nother. So it was like 2 games in one, and that's what made it, stand out to me as one of the best in the franchise.
I've never played a Zelda game before.
Not one.
Well, okay. I did play for a very, very short amount of time some Zelda game on the Wii. I don't remember which one it was. It was hard.
Twilight Princess.
It might have been Twilight Princess. But I would like to get a Switch and get Breath of the Wild.
Dude, that game is sick.
Yeah. I would love to play that game.
I'm getting me a Switch because there's so many games that are coming out for that system that I want to get.
Yeah, I want Mario Party, I want Mario Kart, I want Breath of the Wild, and that's pretty much it.
Dude, I just want Starlink just so I can play with Fox. That's it. That's it. It's the first Fox game since Star Fox 64. It's, to me, I thought that when that game came out, there was going to be a second part. I thought there was going to be a spin-off or something, because it was a very popular game when Star Fox 64 came out, and it kind of just, they didn't do anything with it.
Right.
And that was one of those video games that was like, wow. Like, it's just like, you got a rock rolling down the hill and it's a big boulder, and then all of a sudden it just stops. And you're like, what happened? Where'd it go? The momentum for that game was insane when I was growing up, and a lot of people bought Nintendo 64s just to play that game because it came like with a Rumble pack, and it was one of the very big expansions that they had, when they were selling their system. So I was surprised that there wasn't further, progression to Star Fox.
Well, another way our lists differ, you chose a game that has a great story, and I chose a game that has no story. Earth Defense Force 4.1.
What is that? That sounds like a mobile game.
Oh, you've never played Earth Defense Force?
No.
Alright, so the story, air quotes, is pretty much aliens invaded. They saw insects and were like, alright, let's mutate these. So you go around fighting giant spiders, ants, giant robots, and it's just a dumb game where you shoot stuff. There is a story, but it's not a very good one at all. And the newest one, well, not the newest one, because 5 is out in Japan and coming out in North America very soon. But 4.1, you could choose between like 4 different classes of people, and I was always a wing diver because they could fly and they shot lasers and shit. and it was
That's
just
crazy.
it was fun. It's it's by far one of the hardest games to 100% because the game is made almost to be unbeatable. Like there's 5 different difficulties for every mission and there's like 90 something missions. To do some of the harder missions on the hardest difficulty, you have to grind for not hours, but weeks to get your armor level high enough to be able to do those. Most people in the game have like 7,000, 9,000 armor, which is pretty much your health. And then there are the very few that you see that you treat as gods that have 1,000,000, 500,000. Anything above 100,000 is shocks you when you see it. Because you only get like the one mission that you use to farm armor, you only get like 100 from it. And the mission takes a long time to do. It's like 20 minutes easily. It's just a great shoot 'em up game. It's pretty much an arcade game.
It kind of sounds like, just one of those games that are just fun to play.
Yeah, pretty
It
much.
doesn't have a. It's one that you don't need a good story. You don't need a reason to play. It's just one of those games you just get sucked into, play consistently for long.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, I was playing Warframe with one of my friends that had it, and he was like, "You should get Earth Defense Force," and I had no idea what it was, and he was like, just fight giant bugs." I'm like, "Okay, I'll buy it. Why not?" And I think I have like over 400 hours in it,
Wow.
and I'm nowhere close to 100%ing it. I think I'm like 20 something percent in. It's
That's
such a good game.
crazy.
You should buy it. It's like I think it's only like $15.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to check it out. Sounds like a fun game.
It's on
I,
PS4.
I like games like that. Yeah, I like games where you can just play them, where you just don't have to have like a reasoning for having fun in the game. You just have fun in the game.
Yeah,
Like a lot of people are like, oh, how can you just sit there and just like play those first person shooter games just over and over with people? And I'm like, because it's fun. Like it doesn't matter to me if it's Call of Duty or Overwatch or if I'm playing Rainbow Six or whatever. It's just the competitiveness of the game to me is what I find fun.
yeah,
In some games you can find that competitiveness, whether it's a solo game or it's a multiplayer game. You just have to find a way to make that game fun and competitive.
yeah. Especially in that game, like I said, the more armor you have, the better people treat you because they know for a fact that if someone comes in with like 20,000 armor, even you're gonna be nice to them. You will not be mean to them because they're the reason that you will get past missions and actually be able to level up your armor.
Yeah, but it's like that with any MMO game that you're playing. It's like especially like in World of Warcraft, you always want to align yourself with the best.
Right.
You know, and that's how most online games are, or most multiplayer online games. You want to align yourself with the best, because then people look at you as being the best, or you learn from the people that you play with.
Yeah.
Um, Back, playing with a lot of solo player games, you learn a lot of strategy, because you're playing by yourself. So you have to learn how to do things that would require two people on your own. So it's more technical, it's more strategic than when you're playing a multiplayer.
Yeah. I don't know how to describe it.
See, but talking about games in that aspect gets me to like number 4 on my list, which would be like the entire Resident Evil series of games from beginning to end.
No.
Because that game was just The first one's about is I mean it's about survival first and foremost. It's surviving zombies, but the intricacies within the game, the little puzzles you had to do to open certain doors, or the one piece of paper you had to find that had that 4-digit code. If you didn't find that paper, you didn't know what the code was. So there were certain things you had to do in the game just to find out, and it's an awesome game. I love the original Resident Evil. That's my greatest. Like, I love Resident Evil. It's number 4.
My number 4 is The Witcher 3.
I
Just
was just reading on that game yesterday. Like
it
literally, because I went through IGN's top 10 or top 100, and it's in their top 30
yeah,
of RPG games of all time.
it's definitely an amazing game. Even on console, it looks amazing.
Yeah,
The story is just wonderful. I mean, I have Witcher 1 and 2. I've tried playing Witcher 1. It is 1,000 times different than Witcher 2, and Witcher 2 is 1,000 times
yeah,
different than Witcher 3.
yeah. And I love those games because they're just so, like you said, they're so different from one another. Like at
Yeah.
first, I didn't think I was gonna like it. Like I played a lot of RPGs. I played a lot of first-person shooter action games, things like that. And Witcher's is a different style of game.
Yeah.
I mean, you can call it an RPG, but you still can't categorize it. It's like kind of playing Skyrim. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? Like Skyrim is in a game within itself. It's an open world game. It's an adventure game, but at the same time, it has RPG qualities because it's within that same genre. Like most Elder Scroll games. But it's just like Witcher. It's like within itself. The potion making, the weapons, the things that you have to do is not within the realm of any other game.
Right.
So it makes it more interesting, and that's what I like about that series. It reminds me of I don't know if you've ever played Soul Reaver or the
No.
Legacy of Kain series.
Nope.
Um, and in Soul Reaver, you had to collect souls in order to remain healthy. You know what I mean? Back in those times, you didn't have a game where you were a good guy, but wasn't really a good guy. You were kind of like that anti-hero. You're a soul reaver. Your job is to reap souls,
Right.
but yet you have to overcome a greater evil. So you were a bad guy portraying a good guy to overcome something that was worse than yourself. And that kind of like what Witcher was within that sense, where it was just different. So it made it better. It made it, to me, it made it more of an interesting game. It was something that, like, if I needed a game to play where I can just lose myself into a storyline, Witcher was that game. And each one, like you said, is different. There was no interconnection as far as, I mean, same character, same gameplay, but each one had its own different game style.
Right. Yeah. Another reason that I like Witcher 3 is the fact that, in my opinion, and as far as I'm concerned, in the opinion of many others, it's one of the hardest games to platinum in one run, your first run. And that's what I'm trying to do on it. I haven't played it in a long time because ever since I got my computer fixed, I've been focusing more on PC games, and my save is on PS4.
Mm.
So
See,
that's
and that's the thing about video games that I hope changes in the near future. Just one console all over the world. Like video games going into virtual reality for me is, I see that as a huge step, and like being able to just play any type of game, any competitive game or any sports game. Like say you want to play a baseball game or a football game, and it's no longer on a console. The virtual reality is there, so you're just putting on the goggles, and you and your friend are now in this world playing
right.
this game together. That's what I want. I hope to see in the future of gaming, because we already can play online across the world now. What's the next step?
Well, you may be happy to hear this then. Have you heard of the anime Sword Art Online?
Yes, love that.
Well,
Amazing.
some company in Japan just finished running alpha trials on a Sword Art Online VR game.
No.
Yes, and it's not like VR as in the Vive or anything. They're going for as much of a full dive as is possible at our time. So, when you walk, you don't walk around the room, you walk on a little pad. It's it's amazing. And then I read
Yeah.
something else where in the somewhat near future we actually could have full dive technology like in Sword Art Online. And when I say somewhat near future, I mean like 5, 6, 7 years.
That's awesome.
Yeah, I was very excited when I read that because that is my dream is to play a
But I
game
know,
like Sword Art Online.
I've got addicted to that. I'm a huge anime fan.
Same.
Huge. And when I first got into anime, I was a kid. I was in fifth grade. And so I'll give you the year. It was 1988 when I was in fifth grade.
Oh,
Okay, so we're going back almost 20, 30 years, right?
damn.
30 years, something like that. So most people at my time, when I was that age, didn't know what Dragon Ball Z was. They never heard of it. And me and my friend used to collect the cards when we were kids, and they were written in Japanese writing. And my very first card that I had was Super Saiyan Gohan, and it was like my favorite. It was my favorite card because it was Super Saiyan 2 Gohan when he fought Cell.
Right.
And a lot of people, when I was growing up, were like, "What the heck is that? Like, is that like some kind of game?" And I was like, "No, they're just collecting cards, like baseball cards or anything like that." And that's when I started drawing. That's how I started getting into drawing. It was actually because of these anime cards, and that's how I got into anime. Since then, I've watched everything from everything in the Dragon Ball series to everything in the Gundam series. Like Gundam is my favorite series in all of anime. Like if I had to do a top five, that's number one.
I I like to consider myself an anime fan. I don't really watch that much of it though. Like I've watched all of Naruto Shippuden. I've watched a few of the Fate series. Uh I was just thinking Sword Art Online. I watched all that. Even the terrible part of the second season. Um
I like it. I that the whole it's anime. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I can talk about anime forever too.
you can talk about anything. I don't know what I was gonna say. You go.
Dude, if when you like, that's why I can't wait because like people when they see me, they're like, "Oh, okay, no, you're not. You're not a geek. You're not a nerd. You grew up in Brooklyn, New York. How can you? Like you're covered in tattoos." And I was like, "Well, look at my tattoos. I got like Darth Vader. I got the Harry Potter sign for like the Dark Mark for the Death Eaters. Like I got crazy tattoos just all over. So like when you start to look at my tattoos, you start to realize like, oh, he's a nerd. Like all his tattoos are kind of like nerdy tattoos.
Right.
So, but yeah, it was funny because I never saw a Star Wars movie when I was growing up, or I should say when I was a kid. wasn't until I was about 15 years old when I saw my first Star Wars movie, because my dad was just like, "You have to watch this. You have to watch this," and I sat down and watched it. I think since then I've watched every Star Wars movie more than he has.
Still haven't watched a Star Wars movie.
Gosh, do you know? Just
I saw the Last Jedi was on Netflix, and I was gonna watch that the other day, but then I had to leave to go somewhere.
your girlfriend's not gonna like the first day we meet because I'm gonna kidnap you, I'm gonna tie you down, and I'm gonna make you watch Batman, Star Wars.
Oh god.
I just still can't believe you haven't watched the original Batman. I know
Nope.
there's people right now who watch this podcast. There's people just shaking their heads like, mm-mm. You did not watch Batman? Mm-mm.
Hey, at least I've watched the Dark Knight series.
I can give you some credit for that.
I've watched
You
those
see what?
movies a lot.
The good thing about that is you didn't have to suffer through the horrendous, 15 years of horrible Batman. George Clooney, Val Kilmer, and all these horrible people. We had Arnold Schwarzenegger as Mr. Freeze, okay? No. Jim Carrey played the Riddler,
Are you talking about Batman and Robin?
yes.
I like that movie.
Oh, come on. Jim Carrey was probably the only good thing about that movie.
I liked it because it was dumb.
Other than that, everything else about it was horrible. Horrible George Clooney playing Batman.
Hey, but now we're in another time of a terrible Batman.
Well, he's not doing Batman no more. He quit.
Really?
Ben Affleck quit, yeah.
That's
Because they dropped Marvin.
who's
The
Marvel?
guy who was playing Superman,
Oh,
he got dropped. So when they dropped him, Ben Affleck was like, "So what are we gonna do now? Why we're starting all over?" And so he was like, "I'm not starting all over," and decided to drop Batman. That's what I heard. And then they were like, "So where does the DC universe go from here?" Because basically, you can't. How do you resurrect Superman and Batman at this point?
you
Basically,
can't.
they've done. Yeah, I mean, after the Dark Knight series, you can get better, but you got to keep it that dark. You got to keep it that's Batman now. That's
Yeah.
what people perceive as Batman. And now so they're gonna want that all the time, and you can't go back to trying to, spoon feed them the George Clooney style Batman or the Val Kilmer. And with Superman, it's like either you're gonna give Superman his own movie, or you're just gonna go further with the Justice League. So they're kind of in limbo of what to do now, because they were thinking about doing a Superman movie with Jordan, the dude who plays in Creed, and thinking about doing Universe 10 Superman because that has an African American Superman. And so they were going to do something with Superman going into multi-universe, but how can you do that without skipping everything he's ever done with the Justice League?
Yeah, I don't think the DC universe is gonna really go much further with anything except solo movies.
Listen, this is how you resurrect Superman. You bring on something everybody's been starving for the last 15 years. Doomsday.
Yeah, I think that was one of the plans for Justice League. But
See, but this is the problem. If you bring in the Justice League with Flash, Wonder Woman, Aquaman, Green Lantern, you skip the whole original Justice League, which is Booster Gold. There was a set of twins. So when you follow if you're following the comic, and you're going by the actual comic genre of the Justice League and the book of when Superman actually gets killed by Doomsday, the Justice League that they have now is not the Justice League that Doomsday defeats.
right.
You know what I mean? Batman's not in the Justice League. Green Lantern's not in the Justice League at that time. Flash is one of the original. Actually, he is the second original member in the Justice League. It starts with Superman and the Flash. Flash recruits Batman into the Justice League when Superman goes bad. with red kryptonite. It's crazy, and the original, like the origins of how everybody actually got into the Justice League is not what's portrayed in the movies.
Right.
So it's like kind of like when we first started watching the X-Men movies, and how they formed the X-Men was not the same way it was when you read the comic book. But then they revamped it, and they kind of revamped it in a way so where it did start off like that, where you had the original members of the Justice League was Archangel, the Beast, Jean Grey, Magneto.
You mean X-Men?
Yeah, sorry, X-Men. So it was great to see when they revamped it to bring that original core team.
When you say they revamped it, are you talking about the what's the name? What was the name of the movie? The First Cadets?
X-Men First Class.
First Class,
X-Men
yeah.
First Class.
Okay.
Exactly.
I like that movie. I haven't seen any of the X-Men past that though.
The reason I like that movie is because it shows the friendship between Magneto and Professor X.
Yeah.
You didn't get that in the first 4 movies, but yet they always had that connection of why they never truly hated each other, because they understood each other. And you never, unless you read the comics or saw, the cartoons growing up, you never understood why.
Right.
If you just followed the movies. So when you got to First Class, it kind of showed why. It kind of showed why Magneto started to build a dislike for Professor X, but never really did anything to hurt him or destroy what he did, because he still respected him.
Yeah.
And it shows that struggle, as the movies go on. It shows that every time Magneto had to go up against Professor X, he would tell him, look, I'm gonna do this, so you can try to stop me, or you can just move out of my way. Like, I'm warning you. It was never like, I'm just gonna do this and I'm gonna stab you in the back, because that's the way they were never like that. And so when you go to the whole back to the DC universe, and you want to build kind of what they're doing something in Marvel, you have to go back and redo everything. You have to start back from you can't really redo Superman, because it's been redone. You just got to do something that's haven't been done. The same thing goes with Batman. There's so many different things you can do with Batman, but I think at this point with Batman, it's not about making it better than what was before. It's expanding on what we already have from the Dark Knight series.
Right.
Bringing that into the Superman universe. Because every time Batman and Superman would team up, it's kind of like Captain America and Iron Man. They always clash. Batman calls Superman the Boy Scout. Like, you do everything right, and you can't always do everything right. So I would love to see a real Batman Superman movie, not that trash that they fed us with Wonder Woman and the so-called Doomsday that they had in that movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah, that was a pretty terrible movie.
So that's why or they can bring Darkseid. That would be the greatest Superman movie, but it has to be like a rated R movie. It can't be a PG-13. Darkseid is not known to be nice. He destroys and annihilates. They hinted it. They hinted to that movie in Batman, Superman. Why didn't that come out next? If you go and you do Darkseid, you have to do the Justice League. You have to bring on the Green Knight. You have to bring on the entire core, because it's worlds versus worlds. And that's something you can expand on. That's something you can make completely, something the next 10 years of just nonstop movies. That's what I think they should have focused on, going into that direction, bringing out the DC multiverse rather than trying to follow the same pattern that Marvel laid out.
See, they did try to follow that pattern, but at the same time, they didn't do it right. Because the Avengers was such a long setup. I mean, Iron Man had 2 movies before the first Avengers. Captain America had his own movie. Hulk had his own movie. They set up everything before even attempting to do a big collaboration like they did with the first Avengers.
Exactly, but they built up to that collaboration.
Yes.
We were all sitting there waiting, oh man, is Captain America and Iron Man gonna do a movie together? Like that, we knew that the universes were so close. Like in the movie, it's like you're waiting for them to intersect, and you know when we got that, it was worth it. The wait for that Avengers movie in 3D. Oh my gosh, that was one of the best 3D movies I've ever seen.
Yeah, and the same, and with Justice League, there was no build up. There was,
No, there was just here's a Justice League.
I think there were like two movies before Justice League. I think it was Man of
You had
Steel.
Batman. Yeah, you have Man of Steel, Batman, Superman, and then the Justice League. And
Yeah,
now we're getting all the solo movies. We had Wonder Woman, Aquaman, and Flash comes next year. And I'm like, the one thing people could never do right, and I don't understand, just the story is so easy to follow. It's the Flash. And I'm not looking forward to the movie because the storyline is just so horrible.
I'm
It's like,
sorry. What?
no, what were you gonna say?
I'm just saying that I'm not looking forward to the Flash movie because I hate this Flash. My Flash is Grant Gustin from the TV show. That is the only Flash
Yeah.
I will accept.
And I'm right now I'm watching that show with my girl. We're on season 3, episode 22. So
I have watched season 1 through 4 of that so many times, along with Arrow. I've watched the
I watched
six.
them all. The only one I refuse to watch, and it's because it is the most absurd storyline of absurd storylines, is Supergirl.
See, I like Supergirl.
I can't do it. I can't. I'm sorry. Listen, I'm a huge comic book fan. I collected comics, and oh man, literally, I would be a multimillionaire if I got a hold of my comic books before my cousin did. Let's just leave that story at that. We're gonna put that in the back for another day. But in the comic book lore, Supergirl is actually found by Lex Luthor, just like she is in Smallville in the show. So when she comes to Earth, the first human she comes in contact with is Lex Luthor. And so he keeps her in her penthouse for like the first 2 years that she's on Earth. And she's allowed to go and come as she pleases. He gives her everything she needs. And she falls in love with this man and wants to marry this man before she even meets Clark Kent. She knows Clark Kent, the newspaper guy. She knows of him from TV reports, but she's never met him in person. So when she finally meets Clark in person for the first time is when she was using her powers to save people in Metropolis, and he happened to be there. And so that's how they met. And so when he finds out that she's living with Lex Luthor, it's like, yo, you're my cousin and you're living with my mortal enemy kind of deal. Like, oh no, that can't be happening. We need to show you who this man really is. So there was always a conflict between them two because of that. And nobody's ever done anything about that. Like, so I can't watch Supergirl on TV.
But see, I think they kind of justified that in the usual like superhero way because Supergirl is in a different universe
Exactly.
than anybody
It
else.
doesn't, because in the Flash she comes like multiple times and they do the crossovers. And I'm like, Vibe has to open up to go to where she is. Like, come on, like that doesn't. You just killed it. I do, however, like that they use the fact that she does have superpowers Superman doesn't have.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like she's telekinetic. She can read people's mind, like certain people's minds. She can move things with her mind. She can create force fields and things like that.
Yeah.
Like that's what's in the comic book, and nobody's ever used that ever. Like not even in some of the cartoons that they did. And so to see that in the show was kind of like the one thing that I like about Supergirl is that they did go a different route with her show, but she never had anything to do with Superman within her first years of living on Earth. So she never met her cousin. She never knew who he was. And then when she finds out is when like her world starts to go batshit crazy. You know what I mean? And like shit's just turned upside down. She winds up leaving Earth and not coming back for years, and then she's fucking with Brainiac, and so like her world was peaceful before she actually met Kal-El. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
but so I kind of like the fact that it's in that nature where you're kind of discovering, she's discovering who she is, and you get to see that. You get to see her discovering Earth and being able to learn on her own and how to coexist with the humans of her universe, I guess you would say.
Yeah. At least we can all agree that Arrow is the best show.
Oh, it's fantastic.
It is
Listen,
absolutely the best.
I have favorite villains in the DC universe, and Deathstroke is one of my favorite.
Yeah, I agree.
Like, if I was creating the supervillains in the DC universe, he's in there. He's definitely in there.
Yeah.
Oh, he ain't got no superpower. All right, try to shoot this nigga with a grenade and see him cut it in half, and then tell me he ain't got a superpower. Ain't nobody else can do that. Like, even if Deadpool try to cut a grenade in half, it's gonna explode. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, he's just gonna survive the explosion. No, this dude cut your grenade in half that you shot out of that gun and just destroyed. Like, it didn't even blow up. It just fell. Bloop, 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 and that's it. He's like, next.
Yeah.
He's one of my favorite supervillains. Like, just he's fantastic.
If they ever try to do a Green Arrow movie in the DC universe and they don't put Stephen Amell as the Green Arrow, I'm not watching it. I will never watch another DC movie again.
You see, I would be honest, it would be hard for me not to, but I know somebody who will fill that role perfectly fine. Chris Pine.
He may fill it perfectly well, but
I think he will.
It's not going to be the same. Oliver Queen is Stephen Amell.
Listen, I was one of those people that when I was watching The Dark Knight with Joker as Heath Ledger, and I heard that Heath Ledger was going to be the Joker, I was like, are you kidding me? You're talking about the guy who did 10 Things I Hate About You? Like, come on, really? Nah, no way. That's bullshit. You know what I'm saying? Oh, sorry. You know, but there's no way, right? And then I saw the movie.
It's the same thing
with... Say more?
It's the same thing with the new Flash, though. Like, I'm sure he's great at being the Flash. I mean, he did his character pretty well in the Justice League, but it's just Grant Gustin does it better. He's more experienced at it. He is the face of Flash.
And I feel you on that. I feel you. I'm not looking forward, like I said, to the Flash movie.
Yeah.
The whole storyline, everything about it is just wonky to me. Like, you could have done better. You're just rushing to do this because you want to catch up to Marvel, because you feel like you're falling behind. And I get that. Business is business, but you're losing business at the same time because you're not doing it right. You're not giving us what we want. You're just giving us what our eyes aesthetically are pleased by. And graphics aren't working anymore. You know what I mean? Like, explosions aren't good enough. Lightsabers and ray guns aren't good enough anymore. You know, you gotta now have story and foundation to what you're giving us. And they're not doing that in DC. They're just giving us what seems to be pleasing and not. It's like going and you're hungry and you want to eat a full plate and somebody gives you 2 chicken wings and you're like, oh, okay.
Before we continue, I just have one quick thing to say about how disappointed I am in myself. I forgot to hit tweet on the announcement that we were going live.
Don't worry, I did that a long time ago. I shared it on Twitter a long time ago.
Yeah, but I forgot to post it from the SRM Gaming Twitter.
You know, you should have just went right along with the whole podcast and just.
I thought that was pretty funny.
I can see Squish now.
Oh god.
It's in Squish now.
Squish is looking on Twitter like, why are we live at 7:18?
He's shaking his head.
Definitely.
But I noticed that we just did not. We only got to number 4 in our list.
Yeah.
Which is okay with me. It's okay with me. Things happen.
Yeah. We can go for a little bit longer.
Like I said, if they take the Superman and they did a Darkseid movie, they're forced to bring everybody in. And that, like when they did the Green Lantern movie, horrible. It was horrible.
I just want to point out I like the Green Lantern movie.
I was gonna say, like I said, aesthetically pleasing.
Yep.
It was giving you the imagination of the ring holder, which kind of, that's how he was. When he was the Green Lantern and he started, it was kind of childish for him. He didn't really know, anybody with superpowers, if they're of good nature at first is going to be like a kid doing just random crazy little things. And
right.
I think of, oh, let me go rob this bank, or let me go, get revenge on half the world. They're just going to have fun with it. That's kind of how the movie was to be portrayed. And I just thought that they kind of progressed too fast with going from him being the Green Lantern to now having to fight this evil guy because he has the yellow ring now. And we not only did not get the second movie of the evil Lantern, you just skipped the whole entire storyline. You went from beginning, from A to Z in one movie.
Yeah.
And I think that's why there was no progression for it.
Yeah, definitely. When I say that I like that movie, I agree that it went way too fast. I just liked it because it was just a Green Lantern movie. And I like Green Lantern. He's like one of my favorite superheroes. And I was just so happy that we actually got a movie about him. But I do wish they would have done it way different. But maybe DC will do something right with the Green Lantern movie in the future.
I'm sorry, I can only laugh at that statement. It's hard to see them do something right.
Yeah, that's why I said maybe.
Look at Superman. Look at Superman. We're just from the beginning. Superman 1, Christopher Reeves, the original Superman. That is the greatest Superman movie that has ever been done. And to me, that I'm fine with that. That's fantastic because it is. But to me, that's also sad. That came out in 1973 or some crazy thing. I wasn't even born.
Yeah.
And it's the greatest Superman of all time. We haven't gotten one to compare it to, other than Part 2. We haven't gotten a movie where we can say "Oh, this dude was better than," that was better than Christopher Reeves. That was we've yet to get that. We only got that with Batman because we actually got a producer and a writer who knew what they were doing and gave us a trilogy that was like none other in comic book lore. For movies, The Dark Knight to me is better than any 3 movies in any MCU that you can put it up against. It's better than the first 3 Avengers. It's better than the first 3 Iron Man movies.
Wait, hold up. You're saying the Dark Knight trilogy?
Yes.
Yes. I will
very first.
What?
Come on,
I will
What 3? I want to hear it.
All right. Do they have to be a complete series? Does it have to be Iron Man 1, 2, 3, Avengers 1, 2, 3?
I would say yes, because it's a trilogy.
All right. Well, I can't say Iron Man because Iron Man was okay. What I will say though is Captain America.
It's okay. Now, Captain America was great in its own right because it was different than every other MCU movie. in my opinion. When you watch Captain America, not only was it set back into a different era of time, within World War and, a whole different era of everything. Um, it showed progression of a superhero from that progression of time as well. You know what I mean? Like when he said he came out of an ice cube and the whole world was different. You know
Right.
what I mean? Like he says that to Samuel L. Jackson. And so when you look at to me, when I look at the Captain America movies, I look at them as the progression of him going from a solo hero to being the leader of the Avengers. You know what I mean? So though they were great movies in their own right, I cannot take those three and compare them. I mean, The Dark Knight itself is the greatest movie in that trilogy.
I
But
agree.
then when you watch the first one and you see we've never had Scarecrow in any Batman movie ever. And so when you bring out Scarecrow, not only did they bring out Scarecrow, they brought out someone. If you've never watched a comic show, a cartoon, or ever read a comic book about Batman, you don't know who Ra's al Ghul was. To me, that was like, well, wait, hold up, what, who, what? I didn't even know. I knew Liam Neeson was in the movie, but I didn't know he was playing Ra's al Ghul until I seen the movie. So when they showed Batman being trained with the League of Assassins, it's like, damn, oh man, that's awesome. Because if you go into the comic books and you start to look at like the collaborations in the between the superheroes, there's actually a time where the Green Arrow and Batman are talking about how they both know Ra's al Ghul and how Batman was trained by Ra's al Ghul and how Batman, is to be wedded to his daughter and not the Green Arrow. You know what I mean? So
Right.
in the comic book lore and in the lore of the anime and cartoon as well, Batman is the one who has a child with Ra's al Ghul's daughter, and his name is Damien, and he becomes Robin. So it was good to see that in the movie that they made that connection because they can always do another Batman later in the future and bring back that connection. You know what I mean? So
There's no
when you
Robin
look
named
at
Damien.
what happened,
There's no Robin named Damien.
yes, he is.
No. You got Dick. You got the first one, whose name I forgot. Then you got the third one. There's no Damien.
You do not keep up your Batman, do you?
What? I am.
Damian Wayne is a fictional superhero at times and an anti-hero appearing in American comic books published by DC, commonly in association with Batman. He is the son of Batman and Talia al Ghul, and thus the grandson of Batman villain Ra's al Ghul. And he is Robin.
Hmm.
Believe me, I follow everything Batman. I'm a huge like he is my favorite DC superhero. Always, like, I'm not a Superman fan. I'm a Batman fan. Like, there's like five different Robins, and the original Robin is Dick Grayson, who becomes Nightwing,
Right.
and then Tim Drake dies to the hands of the Joker, and
Jason
that's when
Todd dies.
Batman is. Oh yeah, Jason Todd. Sorry, and then that's when Batman goes crazy, kills Joker,
Yeah.
and then you get the other Batman when Bane breaks Batman's back, and then Batman Bruce Wayne comes back, which was what was done in the movie, the third movie of the Dark Knight series, when Bane breaks his back and he has to go back and get his back healed and comes back. The only thing I was sad about is that they didn't bring out the other Batman in that movie. And I understand why not, because it's all about Bruce Wayne.
Right.
Um, but to me, that trilogy within itself as a trilogy, you can compare it as far as storyline, the villains. I mean, just the sheer intensity and darkness of the movie. you can put it up there with the original Lord of the Rings trilogy. You know what I mean? Like it's one of those movies where it's a set of movies. You're not going to see a Batman like that. I don't think you'll ever see a trilogy of Batman movies.
That compares to The Dark Knight?
Yeah.
I agree with that. There's no way they're going to get any trilogy of Batman as good as that.
You see, and the thing about doing superhero movies is that you get caught up into doing those movies. And, you know, example, Daniel Radcliffe in Harry Potter. You know, it took him years before he was able to do another movie that wasn't associated with him looking, or people looking at him were like, man, all we can see is Harry Potter.
Right.
You know what I mean? So Christian Bale didn't want to be associated with Batman anymore, you know, and so he wanted to move on. And I understand that. You always want to do something different. You don't want to do the same thing, you know,
Right.
especially in movies, you know, taking on a costume, putting it on every like 15 minutes because take here, take there. It gets frustrating, it gets annoying. But he could have done another Batman movie and it would have been awesome.
Yeah. After fighting Bane though, I'm not really sure who they would go to after that. Cuz I mean, I honestly don't think that a movie with Riddler as the main villain would be that interesting. I mean, it'd probably be funny, but I don't know.
My opinion, Batman Beyond.
Batman Beyond's pretty solid. That's the costume I use in Arkham Knight.
People have been screaming for that for years. Before Man of Steel came out, somebody was rumored to be writing a script for Batman Beyond.
Oh.
And they were talking about bringing legendary Adam West, who's the original TV Batman from the 60s. But, you know, Adam West wasn't around. You can't just, hey, let me just call Adam West. This guy's probably like 100 years old. You know what I mean? But at the same time, I think because they try to revamp the whole, you know, DC movie universe, whatever the heck they want to call it, they kind of threw that out the window. But I thought that they should have went that route because it's about time that Batman gets old. It's about time that, you know, or they just got to do something different. I think start bringing in the tech that Batman starts to use,
Right.
to start showing his age. You know, all the different types of suits. You know, the different kind of weapons that he's starting to use because he's not as adept or not agile. I think they should bring in a Robin. If they're going to do anything with Batman, I think they should bring the Robin back in, not be Dick Grayson, you know, maybe bring in Tim Drake as the second Robin so that, you know, it continues with the previous Batman movies that he already had Dick Grayson. Or maybe you want to bring and do a Nightwing movie. Maybe you want to bring the original Dick Grayson back into Gotham and do something there. Do something that they haven't seen yet. Because if you keep doing the same thing, they're just going to keep falling flat.
Well, before we wrap, because we've been going for a while, I do want to talk about two movies coming up. One of them has kinda to do with what you're saying, and this will show the worst and the best of DC. One, Teen Titans. Wow, that movie. That looks like it's going to be a pile of trash.
So is that literally a movie? I wasn't sure if it was like a TV show because I saw the trailer on Facebook a couple of days ago. You're telling me that's
It's a movie.
Actually going to be a movie?
Yes.
That is a waste of film.
See,
it is the crappiest movie I have ever. And this is just from just the trailer. It was utter garbage.
Yeah. One of the only lines Robin says in that trailer, pardon my language, is "fuck Batman." Like, dude.
No.
I'm not sure
no.
which. Let me look up real quick which Robin it is.
In Teen Titans?
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure it's Tim Drake.
Is it?
I am pretty sure it's Tim Drake.
Wait, it might be. It might be a TV series.
I think it's a TV series,
Is it?
and that if it's a TV series, that's even worse.
Yeah,
That's
it's a TV
I
series.
can't. You see, and that's the thing. It's like I feel like DC just allows people, and I don't understand. Like literally, I know I'm not, an astute college writer. I didn't graduate with a master's degree or anything like that. But I damn sure tell you, I could come up with better episodes than what they're giving out right now. And I'm just being serious. Like I've watched so many comic book stuff. I know. I like. Come on, just look at science fiction. Look at the movies from Aliens to Predator to Star Wars, Star Trek. That's your study material right there. If you ever want to learn how to do anything imaginative, just that right there, or just watch Battlestar Galactica. Things like like the sci-fi, the concepts of what was done within those shows are just out there. Nobody's ever done them before. I feel like what's being done in DC is just, oh, let's put this together, let's mash it up and throw it out there. Let's see if it works. Marvel's like, let's put this together because we know it works.
So I just discovered something.
Yes.
So apparently the Titans TV show is already out. It has 3 episodes out. That's the first thing. The second thing is that it is only available on DC Universe's streaming service, which I didn't know existed until just now.
See, I wouldn't have known that. I wasn't even wanting to watch the show. It's just, I don't know. It just was not something I was looking at all. I seen the trailer and I was like, what is this real?
Yeah.
Because it looks fan made.
Oh, it's real. It's definitely real. And it looks terrible. And the second thing I just learned is that the description for it on IMDb, is this IMDb? Yeah, it is. It says a team of young superheroes led by Nightwing, formerly Batman's first Robin, formed to combat evil and other perils. So it's his first Robin, Dick.
That doesn't make any.
I don't know.
I'm gonna find out right now.
I'm just reading what IMDb says, but I looked up. Well, here, hold up. Let me.
Oh, it does say it's Dick Grayson. I could have sworn it was Tim Drake the second Robin and not the first.
I don't know. But that makes it seem even worse, just because, like.
No, but you gotta understand the way in which Batman and Robin broke up. Robin hated Bruce Wayne. Like, he didn't hate Batman. He hated Bruce Wayne and everything to do with Batman and Bruce as a person. Like, they didn't leave on good terms. They literally broke up on bad terms. So when Dick Grayson had to come back to save Batman, he didn't want to be there. He didn't want to have to come back. But how did you leave your dad? You know what I'm saying? And in hindsight, look at it. He raised him. Not only did he raise him, he taught him how to protect himself. He taught him how to do good for others. So basically, that's his dad. You're not going to just let your dad die. You know what I mean? So he came back to help Batman, but he has a disdain for him, just like any father and son would always have a part of themselves that just rub up against each other. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so when he left, he literally just like, I don't care. Like, he can die. But he was still young. He wasn't old. He was he was legal, like he was in his 20s, but he was young still. You know what I mean? When you grow up in that kind of world where you're fighting evil every day, like, you don't learn things like normal people do. So when he went out into the world on his own, he got to experience things. And so he learned and started to realize the things that Bruce Wayne and Batman was showing him, teaching him, you know?
Yeah. So the second thing I want to talk about which might be the best of the DC universe, is Shazam movie. That looks
I'm
good.
not impressed.
I think
I'm
that
not.
looks good.
I don't know.
I think it's
I
gonna
was
be
I
a
was hoping.
what?
Is the Black Adam's in that movie?
I'm not sure. I've seen like
I
one
don't.
trailer for it.
Yeah, I don't think he is. I seen the one trailer for it too. But it's supposed to be one kid, isn't it? And is it one kid in the movie or is it five?
It's one kid in the movie.
Okay.
Apparently,
I think I seen the trailer. I'm not sure.
I think the villain is. This is saying it's Dr. Thaddeus Sivana.
What? It's
Yeah.
supposed to be the Black Adam. That's his very first villain. Because
Wait,
the day that Shazam gets his powers is the day that Black Adam realizes Shazam is back. Like when the kid gets his powers. And so Black Adam makes his way straight to Earth to get Shazam. And like that's supposed to be his very first supervillain.
this YouTube video says, does the Shazam trailer hint at Black Adam's appearance? So,
Okay.
so
So maybe they're doing just the first movie, and then if it does, they'll do a second movie with the Black Adam, which would be great.
yeah, I think
That'd
so.
be great.
Because the villain is confirmed to be Sivana, but I think if the movie does well, they are going to bring in Black Adam.
Because that would be dope.
Yeah, I like
'Cause
Shazam.
It would be dope.
It
Yeah,
looks
I like Shazam too.
it looks like a much better movie, mostly because they aren't going dark with it. I think that is one of DC's failures in that they went dark too fast.
Yeah, because Shazam's not a dark superhero.
Yeah, he's just a kid.
He's a kid, and even after the kid loses his powers, they take them from him, and then it gets split up into the five. They're all still kids.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? They're like all orphans too. They're not just regular random kids with parents. They're all orphans. These kids.
right.
You know, even the first original Shazam, he doesn't have any real parents. You know, so
Yeah, in
that's why
the
I'm glad it wasn't like it's all comical. I'm looking at like pictures and how he looks. The
Yeah.
suit is funny.
and another thing I like about it is like you were saying, like if you get superpowers, you're gonna act like a kid. Well, in the trailer, it shows him like doing skateboarding tricks using his powers, and that's awesome.
Oh, that's funny.
He's just being a kid, but he got superpowers one day.
Yeah, and that's what he does.
Yeah,
And that's what I like about it. It's just like when there's certain characters within even in the Marvel universe, like superheroes like Jubilee for the X-Men, for example. She's a teenager. She's 15, 16 years old when she finds out what her powers are. You know? She just
Yeah.
finds out in a time where robots are hunting you down because you have powers. So
right.
she was thrown up into a dark world. But if she wasn't thrown into that dark world before anything happened, she was just hanging out in the mall, playing video games, shopping with her friends, like normal teenage stuff. You know what I mean? So like, it's like just there's some movies where you just have to stay within that concept of what their reality is,
Right.
and not try to move outside that and make it something different. And I think that's the problem that DC is having. Like they kind of want to give everybody what they want, but they don't want to move too fast, but they don't want to fall behind. So, you know, what are they to do? You know, let's just put this out. This is what they want. Let's hurry up.
My prediction is that Shazam is going to do very well, and
Yes.
then DC hopefully will learn from the success of Shazam, and move their movies more into that kind of direction.
They should just learn from the TV shows of what they have now. DC Legends of Tomorrow, that show is awesome.
Yeah,
I mean, to think about the concept of them moving back and forth through time, not only to change or keep time correct, but they're fighting other supervillains and running into other superheroes and things like that. That show was a great show for the concept of what they're doing with it. You know, it's kind of like a spin-off to the other shows, but it still has its own style to it.
Right.
It's its own set of heroes. You know what I mean? And that's what DC needs. They just need to learn how to be patient, steady, and consistent, I guess. You know what I mean? Like it's like anything when you're building a team or when you're building anything, you know, when you want anything to grow, you gotta be patient. You gotta know what your next step is, what your game plan is. And I feel like because they've had so many different producers, so many different writers, so many different directors, that there was not one consistent game plan of what they're doing.
Right. And with that, like DC Legends of Tomorrow, absolutely fantastic show. And they should have kind of learned the formula for dealing with multiple heroes in one scene from that show.
Yep.
Because in Justice League, Batman literally does two things in the entire movie. I think he drives Aquaman to the final like battle place, and then he has a laser gun that he took from the aliens or whatever. He fires 3 shots, runs out of ammo, and that's all he does the entire movie.
Look who helped. Look who's playing Batman. Look who helped write that movie. I can't. I'm not a Ben Affleck fan at all whatsoever. So I wasn't disappointed to see him go. I was totally disappointed to see him play Batman. Because like I said, you went backwards from Christian Bale.
Right.
Completely went backwards. I don't care how many Oscars this guy won. I don't care how many, blockbuster movies he did. There's just certain characters you can't play, and he can't play Batman.
Yeah.
Period. You might have been able to pull off a stern Clark Kent in a Superman, but not even come close to being clumsy and playing that clumsy part of who Clark Kent really is. So to see Ben Affleck try to portray a superhero was like, no, just stick to your drama movies. You want to do a spy movie. You want to do some like espionage. Go ahead. That's your thing. You can do that. I'm not trying to categorize and saying that, you can't do something outside of what you are or who you are. Give it a shot. Go ahead. I just knew that it wasn't going to work with Ben Affleck. He is not Batman material.
Yeah.
I mean, to be honest, I would have gotten Gerard Butler, and he would have played a better Bruce Wayne than Ben Affleck did. He would have played a better Batman than Ben Affleck did. I was expecting more in the Batman Superman movie because it was Batman versus Superman.
Right.
And Batman destroys Superman. Like, he made Superman look like a human. When he, like in the comic book, in the cartoons, even in the video game, like Batman destroys Superman because he is just that smart and just that resourceful. He took kryptonite, put it into like a gauntlet in his fist, and blew powder into his face so that he breathes in kryptonite.
Yeah.
And he says, all it takes is that. Like, he just mocks Superman in a cartoon. You know what I mean? Like, he's like, it's so easy to kill you. Like if he wanted to, it was just so easy. And that's the thing but they don't know, just to me, like not having that in the movie, or not having the fact that Bruce Wayne put Superman basically on his knees. I wanted to see that in the movie. I wanted to see Superman immortalized, and they didn't do that at all.
Yeah,
again, but not dark.
Right. With you were talking about Ben Affleck and how many Oscars he's won and stuff, and that's pretty much the only reason he chose them. But if you look at Marvel, Tom Holland, the new Spider-Man, he's in almost like nothing.
at all.
And he's an amazing Spider-Man because they chose him based on how he'd fit the role, not
Hmm.
on how famous he was.
But that's what they did with. I mean, yes, they do have a lot of famous actors. But who would have thought Dave Bautista from WWE was gonna be on the
Yeah,
Guardian of the Galaxy? You know what I mean? Come on, like of all people, you got Dave Bautista. I've watched. I'm a wrestling fan, so I've watched him wrestle. I've watched almost every movie he's done, how crappy it was or not, just to see his progression, to see if he really had what it took to be an actor.
right.
You know what I mean? And now he's got all these other movies that he's going to be doing with prominent people in the movie industry. So it's like, wow, he's got that blew the cap. He got his, he got past the glass ceiling, and he's going to be doing other things. That's awesome. But nobody thought he was going to be in a Marvel movie. I never thought I would see Robert Downey Jr. acting in America ever again. Period. You know what I mean? And he's doing Iron Man. Not
Yeah,
one, two, three, but this is what, movie number 7 for him?
yeah, close to that at least.
So like you said, it's not just the fact that they got unknown people playing in some of these movies. It's some of the people that they got who they thought their careers were over. You know what I mean? Like, well, I can't remember the dude's name from the first original movie, but that whistled all the time.
Who?
Uh,
Wait, what movie?
the Guardians of the Galaxy,
All right.
the guy who whistled and he had the spear that went around.
Oh, the blue guy.
Yeah, I can't remember his real name, but his real acting name. But I thought I would never see him in a movie again.
I'll give you
He
his
played in
name.
so many TV shows, and his career was basically almost done. I felt until he was in Guardians of the Galaxy again.
Michael Rooker.
There you go. And there's just like they took a lot. They didn't just take chance. They took, like you said, they took people who fit the role because they fit the role,
Right.
not because of who they were. Your name didn't get you that role. You know, yeah, you were competing against Chris Pine. Yeah, you were competing against what's that chick's name? Zoe Saldana. You know what I mean? Like there's people like that in Guardians of the Galaxy. But then, like you turn around, you watch um their first Thor movie, and the chick, the female in the show, in the movie,
Which one?
the very first Thor movie.
The
Um,
girl that likes him.
yeah, what's her name again? Natalie Portman. I would never thought that she would be in that movie. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
She was in Star Wars. Padme. Like she played a different role. Humble, timid, scared waitress. Like, so it was different that they got a lot of different people. And then, you look at the girl who was the right hand man to Samuel L. Jackson. She did nothing in movies. She was TV.
She was
Um,
How I Met Your Mother.
yeah. And now she was on the Avengers. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was just a cast that they had veterans and then, people, youngsters that you've never heard coming up. Look at what they did with the Black Panther. That movie was amazing.
What is that guy a big actor?
Yeah.
I've never seen him in anything except Black Panther.
Oh no, he's done a lot of movies. Let me go back because he was a minor before Black Panther. Like he did a lot of minor roles or played a lot of supporting roles
Uh,
in movies. So like this was a major break for him in having his own film. Um, get to his name, Chadwick Boseman.
yeah.
Right. Let's see. All right. So he did the Rick James movie, or the James Brown's movie. Get on Up. He was in that.
Okay.
One of my favorite movies that he did was Down in 42 with Jackie Robinson. He plays Jackie Robinson in the movie 42.
Uh,
If you have not seen that movie, oh my gosh, you need to see it.
I
It's
will not. I
fantastic.
will not say whether I have or have not.
It is fantastic. He's played in a lot of movies, but most of them like he started doing lead roles when he did 42. That was his first break star like leading role. Then he did another movie called about Thurgood Marshall. He played Thurgood Marshall in a movie. Prior to that, it was just a bunch of leading roles and a bunch of movies a lot of people, I would say, never saw. Um, so yeah, this is kind of like everybody's first movie or introduction to him with the Black Panther.
What's up, Bitter? What's up, Buckshot? Y'all have tuned in to what is pretty much the end of the podcast.
Yeah, I was about to say we're going on the ending of hour three.
Hour two.
It's hour two. There you go. Yeah.
Yeah. We we got to like number 4 on our list of games.
Yes. Yes. That's
Oh,
it.
oh god.
It kind of happened.
Yeah. What was I? I was gonna say something. I don't even remember. Oh yeah, I was just gonna comment on how great of a of an I can't speak. How great of a fit Robert Downey Jr. is as Iron Man. Just because Robert Downey Jr. pretty much used to be Tony Stark.
Yeah. Yeah. Pompous.
Like in his actual life.
Yeah. That was him before he fell down the rabbit hole, I guess you would say. But yeah, you're exactly right. So it fit him perfectly.
Yeah. I'm sad to see that most of the original Avengers are leaving after the next movie. We're
Yeah.
never we're never
That's why
gonna
they got the. But that's why they got the tattoo, and everybody was like, "Oh, is there a secret behind the tattoo?" Yeah, last movie. Like, how did you not understand that? Like, you don't get a tattoo for no reason. You get it to commemorate something or to remember something.
Right.
You know, something that happened or something that's gonna happen or has happened. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So when they got the tattoo, I already knew. I was like, "Oh, okay, this could be their last movie together." You know?
Yeah. The
So,
I think they're already talking about doing a new Iron Man, and I think I know which one it is. I don't know her name though. I don't know the actor, but well, they haven't even tried looking for an actor, but it's gonna be. I think there's already a cartoon about her.
yeah,
It's
no, they did. It's the comic book. Like when they redid the whole Marvel universe, how Thor was a female, Iron Man was a female.
right.
There was a female Venom, but there's always been a female Venom.
Yeah.
So it's nothing different. People are tripping out in the movie.
But I think specifically it's gonna be some African American girl with an afro.
Huh.
Let me find her
Yeah.
name. I want to know her name. That's her. Riri Williams. Yeah.
Hmm. Gotta check that out.
Yeah. She there's a cartoon about her right now. I'm excited. I don't know if they're gonna reboot any of the other characters though. There hasn't been any rumors or talk about it whatsoever.
Well, we'll see how things go now that they got the rights to Fantastic Four and X-Men.
Yeah, maybe they
Let's
can.
see if they go the route I think they would go, which is a the X-Men versus Avengers route. Can do that.
Yeah,
Um, and then they can also, before they even go that route, they can go ahead and disband the actual Avengers and create the West Coast Avengers, re-bringing Hawkeye back into the mix because he's the one who leads the West Coast Avengers, and he did not die in the last movie. Um,
well,
and in doing that, it brings it them to the West Coast in the LA scene, which is the same part of town or same part of the world where the Fantastic Four is from.
Right.
So now you have the ability to do two things with Marvel on, with two different Avengers on both coasts, where you can have the West Coast Avengers and possibly do a mashup with them with the Fantastic Four, and then at the same time have the original Avengers with, later on going to war with the X-Men and then bringing everybody together for the next big threat.
Right.
There's so much that they have, like when you're doing comic book movies, or you just have the ability to be open-minded. There's just so much you can do. I freaking envy video game creators. Like if I had that for a job, like all day. I just be thinking of stuff all day.
Yeah.
Because I just have that kind of mind. Like I'm just always thinking about other things and imaginative.
What you said was pretty interesting. How Hawkeye didn't die in the last movie. Nobody. The only people that I believe are dead and not coming back is Gamora and Loki. Every single person that died by the snap is coming back.
Okay.
I mean, you have to think of it this way. Everybody that died by the snap has movies coming up.
Not really.
Guardians of the Galaxy has another movie coming up. Spider-Man has...
Yeah, they do. But sadly to say, not all of them are coming back.
Yeah, Dave is not coming back.
Because not only is Dave not coming back, I don't think Zoe's coming back.
Zoe.
And I think the next one is also Chris Pine's last movie.
Chris Pratt.
Chris Pratt. The reason I say that is because
James Gunn got fired.
No, they opened. There was people like LA sceneries, people dig through the trash and whatnot. So they found letters and emails stating that there's supposed to be a movie coming up where, the hell is his name? I could never remember. Rocket.
Yeah.
Is leaving to team up with someone else to help out Thor in another movie for another situation.
Wait,
so this may be the last Guardians of the Galaxy movie. Guardians of the Galaxy.
Is Thor staying? Is he not one of the ones that's leaving?
From what I hear, he's supposed to be doing like one other movie or one other cameo in a movie, or something like that.
I didn't know that.
Chris Hemsworth is, because he's still signed to do one movie or one cameo.
Right.
They're saying. So if it's one cameo, I can see him being in a movie really short, like in the beginning of a movie with Rocket. Maybe Rocket may get his own solo movie. I don't know, because he's like one of the freaking loved characters of the Guardians of the Galaxy.
Yeah.
Because him and Groot continue. They leave in the comic book. They're no longer Guardians, and they continue to go on doing their own thing. So they have their own comic book storyline, in the Marvel lore. So they can also go that route. I do know that in their route, they run into Howard the Duck, who is the original, very first Marvel movie that ever came out back in the 70s.
Howard the Duck was in Guardians of the Galaxy 2.
Yeah. So I mean, there's a lot of things like they can do. I always look forward to what Marvel has, because they're so imaginative, and they open up their world to other things, and even in opening up that, it gives them always other doors to go through. They're never stuck, in a box. They don't put themselves in a box. They always give themselves opportunity to grow and go forward and make other things, and that gives us, the audience, always something to look forward to.
Right.
Which is kind of what we're trying to do here.
Yeah.
At SRMG.
Bringing it back.
have to throw it in there, You got to throw it in there.
Very true. But I really do think that everybody that died by the snap is coming back, because it was pretty much everybody that has a movie coming up, and they can't just bring back one or two from the snap.
No.
I definitely think either Iron Man or Captain America is dying, though.
Yeah. Well, to be honest, with that being said, we have reached the ending of this podcast. Now,
Yes.
being that it is 6:02, we have gone over an extra 32 minutes than we usually do.
Yeah.
But, it's always great. I enjoy doing these podcasts every single weekend. So I'll be looking forward to being here again next week. If you guys are willing to have me, I'm always here.
Yeah.
Um,
We are always happy to have you.
so sadly, we are coming to that conclusion.
Yeah. Thank you all for watching. Make sure y'all go check out our website. Maybe buy some merch using code SoLuTiOnZ for no particular reason. Um, and thank you guys for watching. See y'all later.
Yes, please follow us on the Twitter at SRM Gaming. And we thank you once again. Appreciate your time and patience, and hope to see you again next week.